Going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Double M Show. Quarantine edition number. Who knows by now?
We lost count by now.
We got Mr. Mike Nice in the building, man. What's going on, bro?
Trying to make it through to what's left of the summer.
Damn, so we in August.
We in August, man. September's knocking on the door. And from there on, who knows what the rest of 2020 is going to look like. But we out here, man. We out here.
We out here. August, everyone's getting ready for schools coming up. Big September is really like in this COVID time. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Nobody really knows what's going to look like. And that's my fear right here.
Yeah, I mean, it's all up in the air right now in terms of what things will look like. Schools questionable, whether that be elementary, middle, high school, college questionable. I've seen a couple articles right now, certain places where shutting down. It's tough. It's tough. We got YouTube giving us some technical difficulties.
It's sounding fine. I don't think they can see us very well, but it sounds they can hear us.
Well, we got three streams rolling right now: YouTube, IG, Facebook. Shout out to wherever you're tuned in right now. As we get things going, trying to make sure it's moving and grooving and everything's working well. It's been a while, but Double M is back.
Yeah, man. Let's get into it on Double M. There's a lot going on right now, as we've been mentioned before. The prior weeks when we were speaking on sports, we're talking about, man, what is it going to look like? Is it going to be able to be functionable? And right now we understand that we went through the bubble games in the NBA, the seeding games, if you will.
Yep.
And now it's playoffs time, man. It is playoff time, and with playoffs means playoff action. And we know who's 1 through 8 on the Western Conference. We know who's 1 through 8 on the Eastern Conference. And so we're gonna break those down. But let me not give a sneak peek. Let me have you say what's going on the playlist. And everyone who's tuned in on YouTube right now, can you let me know if you guys can see us and hear us okay? What is this sounding like and what is it looking like?
Yeah, give us a thumbs up or some kind of comment. We need to make sure our YouTube stream is going on. Appreciate you, Dirk. Hopefully it'll clear up soon. Again, we're on YouTube, we're on IG, we're on Facebook, so wherever you catching us right now.
Can you hear us, Dirk, or is the audio choppy as well?
You're trying to make sure this is smooth.
So Mike Nice, what's on the playlist?
With that being said, on the playlist here, obviously Marv alluded to it a little bit. NBA playoffs is underway. Currently, games are taking place. Right now as we're doing this show live, OKC is taking on Houston in their first game of round 1. But yeah, games are happening. We're definitely gonna take a look at each series all the way up to the Celtics series against the Philadelphia Sixers. Big news dropping today. Gordon Hayward, who injured his ankle in game 1, news broke that he'll be out for the next 4 weeks. So we'll analyze that a little bit and take a look at what that means for the Boston Celtics moving forward as they continue to go through round 1 against the Sixers, hopefully make it a round 2 and so on and so forth. NFL training camp underway. Big news, obviously, in New England, the quarterback battle between Jarrett Stidham, between Brian Hoyer, and between Cam Newton. Some people don't believe it's a battle at all. But I tell you, talk to Belichick and the Patriots team, they'll tell you that position is up for grabs, and any one of those 3 guys has an opportunity to become the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots in the 2020 season. But, Marv and I have our thoughts and feelings about it. We want to hear your thoughts and feelings about it for sure. So we'll definitely speak on that.
Tamila says the video is lagging, but the audio is great. These are the things when you try to do a live show. Appreciate it, Tamila. Hope you guys bear with us with the video lagging. But if the audio is good, that means you guys can still contribute, and we still see
Absolutely.
everything that's going on in the chat room. So make sure jump in the chat room and let us know your opinions as well. Mike, continue. My fault.
No, it's all good. And I mean, another thing we could talk about a little bit. I know Marv mentioned it again in the beginning. School is supposed to be right around the corner, but the way it's looking right now, school is a questionable thing right now. When I say questionable, I mean as if a combination of both. People just don't know right now. You know, this coronavirus has been hitting us hard since January. And then you saw come March, schools everywhere start shutting down, going to remote learning. You go through a summer pretty much. Now we're getting ready to get back into the school year, and things are still, in a sense, up in the air. So, want to get people's thoughts and feelings about, maybe you're an educator, you work in a school, maybe you have kids, and you're sending them to school is running through your mind right now. There's a lot of ways to look at this situation, so we'll get into that a little bit. So we'll touch on a little bit of everything tonight.
I liked it, man. I like it. So let's get it started right here, man. NBA playoffs. It has begun. It's different. It looks different. It feels
Absolutely.
different. When you think about playoffs, one of the things you think about is intensity. You think of the crowd. And that's something when I was younger, I always couldn't wait for the playoffs to start because, like, I can't wait to see how the Boston crowd is going to be. And then you see, like, it's just cool things to see, audience members, crowd wearing the same colors together. They have there's a slogan, everything gets pumped up, and you have that intensity, like, yo, your team's in the playoffs. You walk around Boston or any city that's a team's in the playoffs, you will see some banners going around like, okay, let's go team. It's a little different this year. One, we're not outside, so it's not like you can feel that playoffs is in the air atmosphere. Everyone's inside. Mm-hmm. Second of all, there's no crowd in these games. This is just straight up playoffs in the gym, and you got to root for your team at your crib. It's a little different feel. It's not the same, but it's still there, and it's still enjoyable to watch. It still has, you can tell that these games mean something to the players. It means something to us. So one thing a lot of people were talking about earlier is, will these things have an asterisk? Will it have an asterisk in the play? I don't think it will. I've seen that, for the most part, all the players came to play, and that, the basketball looks good. Basketball doesn't look as bad. It looks good. It looks like every player in there really wants to win. So first question is, in the first round of these playoffs, before we even get to Celtics talk and whatnot, what are the matchups that you are excited to see in the first round, whether it be the Western Conference, Eastern Conference? And that goes out to everybody as well who's watching. What matchups are you guys excited about right now in the first round?
Well, one matchup that I tweeted about earlier in the day that, probably doesn't jump out to a lot of people. But, I mean, I think the matchup in a whole, Lakers versus the Blazers. Everybody saw the run that the Blazers made to get to that final 8th spot in the playoffs. And, a lot of people got behind them, watched Dame dropping 60 and 50 and him going off. And the Lakers, who've been, the second best team in the league all year and pretty dominant in the Western Conference. Everybody wants to see that clash between the high and mighty Lakers team and the underdog Blazers. Me, I'm looking forward to seeing LeBron James versus Carmelo Anthony. Does it have the same hype as it did a couple years ago? No. But hear me out, Marv. These two guys came in the together, were pretty top tier talent through over the years. Obviously, the last couple of years have been rough on Melo. We know that. But at the height of their careers, when they battled, whether it was LeBron on Miami or Cleveland, or Melo on Denver or New York, when it came to Melo versus LeBron, those guys had battles over the years. I'm saying, yes, I know in 2020, it's probably not going to look the same. LeBron's still a great player.
It's not probably. It won't look the same.
It's not going to look the same. Probably won't look the same. Yes, LeBron's still a great player. Is he deferring to Anthony Davis a little bit more? Yes, we know that. Carmelo can still get some buckets, but is he running the team at all? No, he's not. He's the third option on the team. So it's not what it looked like ago, but for me, I'm excited to see these guys who are close friends, who've done battles over the years together, go up against each other one last time. Obviously, it's a David versus Goliath matchup, but just to see those two guys on the court together, we don't know if we'll get to see that opportunity again with these two guys who came out in probably one of the greatest draft classes ever. So I'm excited to see that. That's just one for me.
Surprising, this is their first matchup in the playoffs against each other.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Miami and
Knicks
Knicks or Cleveland, they
never really matched. So that's a cool little tidbit. And I know a lot of people want to see the Blazers because they're not the typical 8th seed. That's what everyone keeps saying. They're not the typical 8th seed. If they were healthy throughout the year, all that is cool. I think the Lakers are gonna smack the Blazers.
Yeah, it's not gonna. It might not be pretty.
I don't think it's going to be as close as everyone wants it to be. We all wanted Dame Lillard to be in the playoffs,
yes,
because Dame's exciting. He's box office, and I'm happy he's in there. I'm happy he's there. I just don't think the result's going to be what everyone thinks it's going to be. Do I think that they're going to make it tough games for the Lakers? Absolutely. I think the Lakers beat them out in 5, though.
5 games.
I think it's 5 games. I don't see Blazers taking 2. If they do, man, shout out to Dame, because that means he's dropping a couple 50 pieces that he's been doing in the bubble. But that's a fun matchup. One matchup I am intrigued about is a matchup that's happening right now, and it's not going as expected.
Not at all.
It's the Rockets versus OKC. That's a matchup I really like to see, because it's 2 different styles of play. And of course, you have the drama in the storyline as well. You have Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, who essentially were traded for each other. Chris Paul and James Harden, they had a chance to win a chip. They didn't. Chris Paul was sent to rot in OKC. He brings that team up, and they become a contender, pretty much. Well, a 5th seed. And I think the 2 different styles can clash and see how it goes. Right now, the game is going on currently live. Houston is busting OKC's ass, 112-94. It wasn't even close. But we all know it's a long series. Houston takes game 1. I want to see how they clash. Russell Westbrook, right now he's hurt. When does he come back into this series? So that's the series I'm looking at. Derek mentioned Dallas and LA Clippers. That's a good one. I have Clippers coming out of the West. But if there was a hard first round matchup, I think Clippers got the hardest when it comes to Luka Doncic and Porzingis. And I tell you guys, man, Luka is going to take over this league in a year or 2. He's here.
Yeah.
He's here. Like, I know Celtics fans love Tatum, and I'll be seeing the list that they be doing under 25 and try to put Tatum. It's Luka's league. The man has arrived, and he can do whatever he wants with the ball in his hands. I love watching him play. I love his style, and I'm excited to see his growth and what he's going to be in 2 years, because that's a future MVP possibly next year.
Yeah. Luka's, I've in the bubble, especially with the times that these games have been at, Luka has really shown me a lot. You could read the box scores and see the stats and whatnot and say, oh, man, he put up some great stats. He had a great game. It's another thing to watch these guys play. And there's a couple of guys that I've had a chance to watch play in the bubble thanks to the time of the games and whatnot. Luka has been one of them. And my goodness, for him being that age, it's really amazing to watch. And, there's a lot of these young players who are having great games. Luka being one of them. We know what Tatum's doing. And Jaylen Brown, 2 guys that we're going to talk about a little bit more. You got, Jamal Murray on the Denver Nuggets having a great game. Donovan Mitchell dropped what has to be maybe top 5 scoring performances in playoff history. And that man's only 23 years old, maybe 22, not sure.
J-Max says that Luka is as advertised and more. Cuban struck gold again.
Yeah, he struck gold, and the whole funny thing is that Sacramento Kings had a chance to get Luka, and they screwed that up.
That's gonna be the ones we think about years from now.
That's why Vlade Divac job got chopped in half.
And not to say Marvin Bagley is not going to be a fine little player.
They just chose wrong.
Little player.
They just chose wrong.
And shout out to Atlanta because they did the trade. They had Luka and they traded him for Trae Young. And so far, I mean, obviously Luka's the better player, but Trae Young is a future all-star in this league as well.
Yeah, he just needs, that team just needs some work. But Trae Young, they have a good player in Trae Young. But yeah. Back to looking at these matches, my opinion, and again, just tuning in, we're talking about playoff matchups here in the first round that, really stand out to you. I think in the East in this first round, none of these matchups really excite you. Obviously, for the Celtics, you would have thought if Simmons was healthy, and the history between those two teams, then it would have got a little bit more excited. But once you saw that Simmons was out, you knew that the series didn't have that same gusto that it could have had, because both teams are not at full strength. But other than the Celtics, Sixers, Raptors, and
Nets,
the Nets team that they have on the court is pretty much not the team that they'll have next year. Raptors should get through those guys easily. Milwaukee surprisingly lost game 1 to Orlando, but I'm not worried about Milwaukee collapsing all of a sudden. They still have Giannis, who is damn near 2 players in one, the way he can go off. So I'm not worried about that. I guess Indiana and Miami had some hype because Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren had their little beef, but that seems to be squashed. Like Jimmy Butler don't give a damn about a TJ Warren. And if you saw the highlights or watched the game today, Jimmy Butler quiet that even more. But yeah.
Second round will get
interesting.
The second round of the East is going to be really, really good. Dirk mentioning on YouTube that the NBA has plenty of young. Donovan Mitchell goes for 57 points. And I remember even having this conversation with you, Mike, just talking about, like, when it comes to playoffs and drop, because I think we're talking about Jordan and his 61, and we're saying, like, it's really hard to do. You're not going to see one player dominate and just drop 61 points like that. There you go, Donovan Mitchell. And if you watch the game, he needed all of those 57 points, and he was balling out. So he drops 57, a young superstar in the making. You got Jamal Murray, who's a scorer. Denver has something going on over there.
And we got a bright future. Denver has a really bright future.
They just need to get a little defense. The Denver is a scary team when you just look at potential.
Yeah,
that team is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, and one of them is because of Jamal Murray, straight up scorer. He dropped 37 clutch buckets in the fourth in overtime to lead his team. Then you go on the east side. You saw what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown was doing. Hey, Tatum dropped 21 in the first half. Yep. Jaylen Brown said, I'll drop 19 smooth in the second half. Like, those two young superstars are going crazy. And then we talked about Luka already, and he dropped 40-something points against the Clippers and almost willed them by himself to beat the Clippers. So the NBA right now, with these young gun superstars, this might be one of the most talent the NBA has had in a very long time, or if ever. You look across the board, there's superstars in the making. And then you still got the OGs in Westbrook, Harden, LeBron James, Giannis. Like, the NBA is filthy right now when it comes to talent.
Absolutely. And it's exciting to watch. I mean, again, if you really, depending on whoever your team is, most teams have somebody who you could say you're excited to watch.
Sorry, Knicks.
So you said the Nets?
Sorry, Knicks.
Oh, Knicks. Yeah, sorry, the Knicks. I mean, maybe RJ Barrett will turn into something. Who knows? But I think I see Dirk just said it. NBA's in good hands right now, and that is true. For the most part, most teams, the majority of the teams, have young stars up and coming. One team I'm looking at right now, the Rockets. They're still riding the wave of Harden and Westbrook. There's no real young up and coming guys there. But on the opposite side, on OKC, They have Alexander, who's struggling right now, but he's supposed to be a guy who's learning from Chris Paul. So I mean, are in good hands, similar to Dirk said. But
Dirk also mentioned it, if y'all remember the NBA from 98 to 02, which is, the NBA, there was a point where the NBA was depleted.
It was bad.
You can even bump that to like 98 to like 05. Like the NBA was depleted.
It was bad
talent.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly for a while. I mean, it wasn't really till that 03 draft when LeBron, Wade, Carmelo, Chris Bosh came into the mix that, you got a little spark with those couple of teams with these exciting young players. But there was a tough, rough time period there for sure. But let's get into it, man. The Boston Celtics, the 2019-2020 season, coming into the season, you knew the team was basically in Tatum and Jaylen Brown's hand. Obviously, Hayward, another year off of his horrific injury. And then they added Kemba Walker. And everyone pretty much figured you got these 4 guys who are going to carry you. And, they pretty much did that, securing the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference. Here they are in the first round of the playoffs, taking on the number 6 seed Philadelphia 76ers. They've won game 1. Player Ben Simmons, but they still have Joel Embiid. And while the Celtics got the win, it came with a cost.
Yeah,
the win came with a cost.
It came with a big cost. And I've been struggling with this all day because it pisses me off. Gordon Hayward, as we all know, injury-prone Gordon Hayward.
Tissue paper Gordon Hayward.
Year 3 Gordon Hayward is out for 4 weeks with a grade 3 ankle sprain. And we just got to say it right now. It was a bad signing. It wasn't the wrong signing. There's a difference. It wasn't the wrong signing, but it was a bad signing. 10 years from now, if you put some truth serum in Danny Ainge's cup, he's going to say, oh, yeah, I wish we didn't make that.
No.
It was the wrong signing.
No. He's not going to say it was the wrong. He's not going to. What he'll say is, it didn't pan out how we wanted to.
Okay, yeah,
say
sure.
That. It didn't pan out how they wanted it. It didn't pan out. It wasn't a bad signing. It didn't pan out how they wanted it to.
And
so you can say the same thing about Horford.
Which is bad. No, Horford panned out. Well, Horford performed every year, especially in the playoffs. Horford performed.
Actually, no. I can't compare that to Horford. Okay, but I'm saying with Hayward, it's
I'm not saying it's Hayward's fault.
It just didn't work out. I'm not saying
it's Hayward's fault. He gets hurt, and he hasn't been able to play well when it matters. Everyone's saying 4 weeks, so you're thinking, okay, of the second round, maybe third round. If history show me anything about Gordon Hayward, it's going to take him a couple weeks to get back into the rhythm of things. When we saw what happened when he came back with his broken hand, he was hot. Gordon was hot, dropping almost 20 points per game, 5 assists, balling, breaks his hand. He comes back. It looks like he doesn't even know how to play basketball anymore. Horrible defensively, doesn't do anything offensively, bad turnovers. And we saw how long it took him to recuperate. It took him a year to recuperate from the ankle injury for the first time. History shows anything. When Gordon Hayward comes back, we're not really going to see the real Gordon Hayward till what? October if the Celtics get there? So this is a bad injury right now for the Celtics.
So, yeah. Again, I have to get you. It's gonna look back at this time. Gordon Hayward's not an old guy. He's only maybe 29, 30 years old. And this talk. He has 1 year left on his contract, which is an option. It's a player option for like $30 million. And obviously he's not gonna get $30 million nowhere else. So he's gonna probably opt in. But I've also heard of the conversation of, maybe there were structures deal.
I mean, that's
less money.
That's the smart thing to do.
Add more years to it for less money. I wouldn't be mad about. The Gordon Hayward era in Boston, if it were to end this year because he declined it,
it would be a fail.
It'd be a fail.
And it's not his fault. It's not Danny's fault.
It's just bad luck.
Yeah.
But he has a chance to right the wrongs. Right now, it's looking very ugly. Yes, I know these injuries. He's had some. I'm not talking about some.
It's not.
My
Oh
man's
man, he's
broken his foot. He's broken his hand, and then I've heard players get sprained the ankle, grade
out.
1,
Couple.
grade 2. I don't know the last time I heard about a grade 3 ankle sprain.
The guy when he gets hurt,
it's the worst
bad.
of the worst.
It's
the worst
bad.
of the worst. With that being said, okay, he's gonna be out the picture the next 4 weeks. All season long, despite the success the Celtics had, all season long we've talked about, maybe they need some help off the bench. The starting lineup's great, the bench sucks. You're gonna have these next several games. Obviously, they're gonna start Marcus Smart most likely, and then they're gonna roll with they're gonna mix and match players. Semi Ojeley's probably gonna get some time, or whoever they choose. But here's the thing: is how it takes Gordon Hayward, a little bit to work back into the mix. Is this the time off bench and give us that spark we're looking for? That's hoping that they play well with Adams on another level right now, Brown's on another level right now, and Kemba. I think Kemba's going to be fine. His first, he had 19 points. I think in game 1, which is fine. Like I said in the beginning of the season, I'm fine with Kemba being a third option behind Tatum and Brown. That's just me.
We'll get to Kemba in a minute. We'll get to Kemba.
But like Hayward, guys averages 17 points. 3 guys averaged 20 points on the Celtics, and 1 averaged 17. That's pretty damn good.
It's good. It's good. It's good production, and he looked good in the bubble.
Yes.
He looked good. He looked like he was playing well in the bubble. Now, for your question, do you put Gordon Hayward on the bench when he comes back? That depends. How's this team going to look with Hayward gone? Now, if the team looks like, okay, Langford really's found his footing in the playoffs. He's one of those 3 guys. You can't go farther. One of those guys really step up and are playing well with Gordon Hayward done. You don't want to mess up any chemistry or anything was going on. Okay, have Gordon Hayward work his way back in. But if it's the opposite, Dirk's saying the audio's choppy. I'm just going to take this time to take a break.